Dude, I just want to say thank you for letting me come out here, interview you. For anybody watching this, if you guys saw Ivy's podcast, this is Ivy's daughter. Ivy was like, yo, Laser, like, you know who you should interview is my daughter. Like, she has like a bunch of stories. And I was like, I'm down. Like, cause Ivy came to the fucking table and just said everything she wanted to. And I was like, okay, like, this is amazing knowledge, like great information. Like, I feel like it's gonna be reciprocated from you. And I feel like you're like, from being here and setting everything up, it's already been like a good time. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like I'm ready to hear some stuff. But cool. Last night I was I was pretty fucked up. And
oh yeah. You said that you like went and had a little revelation or realization or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not even, I kind of hate it. I'm gonna say it and then you're gonna be like, oh, like this is what this guy is talking about. But no, pretty much I was pretty faded last night. I was with some friends, like super fun. Like we went to the fair, like great energy. And I was thinking there's this one guy that I just interviewed and he's like a rapper. His name is I Eat Ass What's Up.
I Eat Ass?
What's Up.
What's
like,
up?
That's his name. Like that's what ass. I call him. That's like his Instagram
is
handle and stuff.
Is it I E Ass or I Eat?
I Eat Ass What's Up.
I love that.
And like
that's amazing.
I was fucked up and I was thinking about this guy and I was just like, dude, like this, like I just have this gut feeling this guy's gonna blow up and just like become famous or whatever. And he was just like doing some shit with like some other people that are like really big rap. I don't know. I was just like, dude, like I just like.
So you just felt it. You're like, yeah, he's gonna go somewhere.
And the thing is, it's like deeper than that though, because his homie, who was also I think the first upload on my platform, his name is Mojo the Slime, and he's like a local legend, and he killed himself.
Oh damn.
I think recently 2021. Maybe the beginning of this year or the end of 2020.
Man. That's happening a lot lately.
Yeah, no, a lot of people were like super bummed from it. But the thing is, they're like super big homies. And I'm like faded last night and I'm just thinking like, Mojo the Slime is up in heaven and he's just gonna guide and clear this path. And then also my other homie, her name is Sid. She also killed herself, I think in... and this is like one of my like best friends, but she killed herself. I think it was like June, like 2019 or something.
Were they friends too?
No, they didn't know each. Sid was my really good friend, and then I was like, I wasn't great friends with Mojo the Slime. I was like, I say hung out with him like over a dozen times, and like we just had mutual friends. We were friends on Snapchat. Like we'd message each other and stuff. Like. I was definitely bummed when it happened, but last night I'm just like thinking about these two people in heaven, just like watching over people. And it was just like weird having like, I literally like, I felt like they're like just with us and like then a guided path and like all this super dope stuff's like starting to happen and like the ball's just like rolling. And this guy I'm telling you about, the I Eat Ass What's Up guy, he's having like a concert, like he's having a concert in Los Osos. And
really?
Like I put it on my story. I was like, yo, anybody that wants to go to this, like let's fucking go. September 10th if you want to come.
Oh yes, I'm totally there.
It's on a Friday.
I love local rap. I love rap in general. Well, some of the mumbly stuff is a little interesting, but I'm just super into like underground and local artists and freestyle, and that's rad. I'm totally gonna check that out. I like want to grab my phone and look at him, but I'll
show you a song that I've been bumping by him, and then I'll just send you the information. But I just felt like I had to get that off my chest. Like two very important like people that aren't here with us anymore. You know, because life is hard. Like life is extremely hard and difficult, and there's like a ton of challenges. But just like last night in particular, I just was like, it was just different. It was just different. It was just a lot different.
Yeah.
But,
well, you can feel when something's moving like that, you know, especially like if you're like an open channel to that kind of thing. I love it.
But yeah, that's probably the most talking like I'm gonna do. Nice. I mean,
I love to hear people talk.
Okay.
So that, I'm used to people talking to me because that's what I do in my job. I'm usually the one that people talk to. So it's actually weird for me to sit here and talk. Not weird, but it's new,
Can you tell us about your job? Like what you're doing? Yeah. You said you're an organizer?
Yeah.
How's that even work?
So I own what was Purge Professional Organizing. It's Purge SLO now as I'm recreating my brand. But I specialize in downsizing and transitional living and just kind of teaching people how to let go of attachment to things. Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, like hoarders?
Yeah, I do work with hoarders, yes. But but it has, to a certain extent, I can't work with the hoarders that don't want to. I mean, I have been asked to work with hoarders that, like, where it's a mental illness, but I'm not qualified to do that. But I have had clients be like, she won't work with anybody else. You need to work with her. And then, I'll work them through really bringing their awareness to the items and then talking them. Sometimes it can be a long process even to just get rid of one thing, but it's really, I just teach people how to bring their awareness to the stuff in their home. And if it's something that's really going to add value to their life, if they keep it, of course there's things that, family heirlooms and stuff like that. But even then I'm like, hey, is this something that you really want to keep in your home? And I also teach them that, things hold energy. And let's say you're holding on to something that you experience trauma in, unless it's something that's, you have to hold on to. But like, I teach them, like, get that out of your house, and then the new energy is going to come in and make its way. And so there's just a lot that I teach in my organizing, because it's very, like, I don't want to say metaphysical, but it has a foundation of, because I do energy work, it has a foundation of like energy, I guess, So, and then I also continue to work with them on integrating a new routine so they can actually, keep it up.
Never once in a million years would I have even imagined there being a job like this. Like,
I don't even know how it happened either, but yeah.
So people, okay, so if I had a ton of stuff, I would start cleaning, get it out of my, like, I don't use this shit, like, I'm gonna throw this away. Like, totally. Why people are paying you to help them do that? Like, they can't do that on their own, so they just can't throw a ton of stuff away. So
some people can, and some people, and I love all the jobs that I'm in, but some people, let's say, I work a lot with people who have had family members pass away. Like, for instance, there was a sister, so a woman passed away, and the mother was holding on to all of the things. And the sister was the one who reached out to me and was like, look, my mom really, really needs help. She needs somebody that's not emotionally attached to anything to come through and purge. And that's what that's my business name, Purge SLO.
Have you seen the Purge movie?
Everybody's always making comments about, like, oh yeah, Purge. And I'm like, yeah, I have, and I love them, actually. I haven't seen the newest one, the Purge. I can't remember.
There's like 6 of them now, and so it's many. Like always the same story.
It is, yeah. I don't even know if I've seen all of them, but the first couple were fun. But yeah, like they call me, or like I get a lot of clients whose parents have passed away, or like widowers, and they just can't get rid of things. And so I have to, sometimes it just simply takes telling another person the story of the item before they can release it, because it's like, I feel guilty getting rid of this because this happened, and then the memory, and it just needs to come out. Like, the energy is just kind of fumbling around in there, and it needs to, like, pass down through the chakras and come out, and then they can get rid of it.
Can you give me an example? Like, say I'm a client and I have this and I'm like, yeah, like when I was in 5th grade, my dad gave me this and my dad died with this in his hands. But like now I have it because like it was mine. Like he was just like chilling and I gave him something to play with. He died. I took it back. I don't want to get rid of it. But a lot of people think I like go.
So I would normally see how many other things you have of your dad's that you're holding on to. So it's different because something like that, you wouldn't necessarily need it, but if it's something that your dad had when he was like passing away and you didn't have much of him left, I would not even mess with that. I'd be like, keep that. Because I would tell you to take it and we'll get a nice little decorative box of keepsakes and we'll put it in there and you can't overflow it. Like, this is it. This is what you have. And then you would put it away. But now let's say you had, excess of like, some of his, multiple suits, pairs of shoes, and you just can't part with it because you feel guilty. Let's say that, and I would just ask you, I'd bring the suit down or whatever it is. Let's pretend like this is that thing. And I'd ask you what you love about it.
And I'm like, the color and the collar.
Yeah. And what would you do with it over the next, 5 years?
Nothing.
And let's say the rest of your space is kind of crowded. So is this really worth to you taking up that space? Like, I would ask you what kind of memories that it brings you. Is it something that makes you feel happy? Is it something that when you look at it makes you feel sad or remorseful? Or, I'd bring your attention to how it's making you feel in your body. And if it's, let's say you leave it in a place that, it just depends. Like, if it's a bunch of stuff that's taking up space and if it's something that's making you kind of feel like shit every time you see it, like, bless it and then let's move on. Let's get rid of it. And
that's kind of crazy. Like, that doesn't really sound like that's that, like, there's something else going on. Like, you're dealing with like emotion and and like energy stuff and like you're like helping people and they're probably crying sometimes.
Oh yeah. My soft spot is for mothers and like single moms and moms of all. I call them my moms. They are just so busy with life, whether they're stay at home. I work a lot with stay at home moms who don't want to be home but feel like they're trapped there, and they are like, I need a change, and it's usually the first change that they need is to have somebody come in and revamp their home, give their home a facelift, and just kind of, it's really, purging is the foundation of, it sets a ripple effect for massive change in your life. Like, I have had so many clients whose marriages have deepened because of it, and also clients who, let's say their marriage is already rocky and they're searching for something, like say their husbands are assholes, or they're looking for some kind of change. They're like, okay, I'm going to start with my house. Okay, bring her in. I just need help. I don't know what to do. I can't, and as we're working through things and kind of ruffling up the already broken foundation, and they're just purging this and this and this and this, and all this like stuck energy is coming up, and gives them clarity to see what the real issues are. And then they purge their husbands along with it. Like, I've seen that too, where it's like, wow, this is what it just creates a ripple effect of getting everything out that doesn't need to be there. And I've seen women just start over new, and men. Like, it's just, like, clutter can just really clutter your whole life, even though you're not consciously aware of it. Like, if you're holding on to things that are just holding trauma and just negative energy, and it's around you daily, or if you just don't have order. Another thing is if you have papers just scattered, like paper stuffed here, paper stuffed there. Papers hold information. And so that's pretty much a bunch of information that's just scattered everywhere, and you're going to walk into your home and you're going to feel like you are not put together, and it infiltrates into the rest of your life. So I come in and I clear out pretty much the muddy waters so you can see what really needs to be fixed down to the very core of it. And then, just...
Are the clients calling you, or is it somebody else that goes, dude, you need to help this person?
Sometimes it's family members. Sometimes it's a friend that will be like, that I've worked for. They're like, you need to help my friend, and then they'll talk to their friend, or they'll find me online and they'll reach out and they'll be like, I need help. And yeah.
And I was gonna say, how do people even find you? Like, there's like, how do people, like, obviously there's word of mouth, like, of people that you've helped before, but the people that don't have that luxury of the word of mouth, are they like that doesn't even make sense to go on Google and say like, oh, like somewhere around here, like, help me get rid of all of my shit. Search.
Oh, that is. People do that though. I have.
Can you pop up?
Oh yeah.
Are you one of the only businesses in SLO?
No, so there are a couple more. I'm the only one that does it the way that I do it. It's a very unique business, and because there's so many things involved, it's more than just organizing. Like, I'm not going to go in there and be like, okay, like, I'm organized, pay me, we'll see you later. I try to continue to keep reaching out because I know it's not realistic. Like, when we're cluttering and we're consistently like shoving things places, it's not something that somebody can come in and organize it, then it's done. No, it's something deeper. We're usually like, buying outside of ourselves. Like, we're trying to seek joy outside of ourselves. So we're compulsively buying things off of Amazon for instant gratification, like whether it's face creams or this or that or this or that. So it's usually something deeper. So I try to come in and continue to keep up with them until something has truly changed. And with that, I talk to them as we go, like we dive into their emotional stuff. But yeah, anyway, sorry. No. You can Google me. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and word of mouth. I do advertising on all of it. Yeah.
Would you say you're pretty organized? This feels good. This feels really clean.
It is.
Like, obviously, like, my stuff just made it, like, a lot crazier. But when I walked in, I was like, dang, this house is really well kept.
Yeah. It's definitely, have you ever heard that saying, the shoemaker's kids never have shoes?
The shoemaker's kids never have shoes. Never heard of it.
So it's like, it's almost like a mechanic. His cars are never fixed because he's always fixing other people's cars. Yeah. So sometimes it can get like that, but at the same time, I'm a minimalist. Like, I have some towels. I'm minimal in everything. Like, I have one set skincare regimen that I use. If it's something new that I buy that I haven't tried, I will give it a full month or two before I throw it away and get something new. I'm not going to be like, okay, I need this, and so I'm going to actually, this isn't working after a week, I need to go buy, like, I'm very, very minimal. I have one toothbrush that I cycle through, every, like, 3 months. I have, like, a set of pans, a set of bowls. Like, I think I've got 4 bowls, 4 plates. I'm just super minimal, honestly. So it's easier to actually keep organized, and definitely, though, I am growing out of my space.
It feels good having a little bit of stuff.
Yeah,
like there's totally, some people.
Yeah. If you use it and you're like, even if it's something that you use, even if it's once a year, keep it. Like, I'm not like don't have anything, but I've seen people that they just don't need all of it, like, because they don't know what they have. They're like, oh, I've been looking for that for years, and it's like, it's because it's piled under all this stuff. It's like, if you don't even know that you have it and you bought an excess of it because you can't find it. That's my thing, is like getting to things that you're really not using, that's just taking up space.
Is your business successful?
Yeah.
Like, how busy
growing.
Are you?
I could probably be busy for the rest of my life, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Only with the job, though. Like.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, you're talking about the job. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, you're that busy with it.
Always booked out. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I had more employees before COVID hit. So I also have a house cleaning side of my business. I should probably mention that.
What?
Yeah. So
what's it called?
It's Purge Slow. It's still part of it. That's actually how I started. I was actually doing errand running when I was pregnant with my daughter. And I needed something to do. So I was like running errands. And then someone's like, well, would you like help me clean up my kitchen? I'm like, sure. I love to clean. I love to organize and just make a space feel good. And then it was like, oh, will you help me organize this? And I'm going to tell my friend. And I had no intention of doing anything with it. And, and then I had a lot of people start asking me for house cleaning. So I just kind of like started doing house cleaning more. And then some organizing, and then it just turned into organizing, but the house cleaning was so lucrative that I continued to keep that, and then I hired girls to come and boys. I actually hired, did I hire Liam? Okay. Elijah's friend, Liam, I'm pretty sure. I hired Liam. I'm almost positive that it was Liam. So I hired one of Elijah's friends. So Liam has like blonde hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hired Liam. He worked for me for a bit.
Okay.
He's a super cool guy. I love that kid. But yeah, I've hired men and women. But I hire them. They go in and clean. And it's so consistent that I just have it like it's just always going, and it's always super lucrative. And I haven't let that go. And then I do the organizing. And now I've trained 2 girls to do organizing. One of them had to leave because she's going through a divorce, and then I'm training the other one to go off on her own. So it's like growing in its own little...
Oh, she doesn't want to stay with you?
She does, but she just can't right now because she...
She wants to be her own boss? Or...
No. Oh, you mean... No, so the girl that I'm having go out on her own is like...
Still working for you.
Still working
Got
for me.
It. I thought you meant, like, teach me your tricks. I'm going to go do this I'm going to do your platform, but in Kansas.
Yeah, no. I mean, I would love to expand eventually out, which I am. I've been to Utah twice. I'm going out to Arizona. I've been to Bakersfield. I was going to go to San Diego right before COVID hit. It's definitely branching out, but yeah, no, I'm training her to be able to go out on her own because I would like to my goal is to have a tidy up crew where we go in and we just kind of like help people who are like super stressed out because we have very, very busy lives, to just kind of cut the clutter and downsize and anything to make their life easier at this point.
So you are a self-employed business owner and you have how many employees?
So right now before I had 3 and then I had 2, but one had to leave and now I'm just down to this one and then I'm hiring currently for more, which has been really hard because everybody's on unemployment right now, so nobody wants work.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but it's working the way it's supposed to work, I guess. COVID just really kind of screwed things up as far as like employees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which sucks because we got so busy after COVID. Holy cow. Everybody's moving.
People bought a bunch of stuff on Amazon.
Oh my gosh. Probably, and then being home all the time. Yeah. They're like, what do we do? And we were like masked up and had suits on. And
you guys had suits on?
Oh yeah, in the beginning. Oh yeah.
Okay.
In the beginning of COVID. Because I was like...
So you guys stayed open the whole time? Dang,
yeah.
Nice.
There was like 3 weeks during the actual lockdown that we were 3.5 months booked out, canceled. Everything was dead for about 3 weeks. And then I changed up the cleaning supplies and got stuff that killed the virus, which it literally said on there, kills the virus, and then came through and we used that. We were doing disinfectants, and we still do, sanitizations and wearing masks and like had suits, because it was scary during that time. It's still a little scary, but yeah, I couldn't stop, I couldn't stop working, and then it just kind of changed and everything just got so busy afterward, and like they would leave the home, so I was able to like keep a distance, and still be able to work. And then people started moving, and I was organizing all these like online estate sales and just
Monday through Friday?
I am open Monday through Friday, but I take every Monday off and weekends, and I try to work like 3 days a week, I would say, but sometimes I work more. It just depends. I've been able to take more and more time off, which is nice.
And the days you have off, are you still making money? Dude, so your life must be
I always have money coming in, which is great. I'm so thankful for it, and it's just gotten to the point where I am so busy that I need to hire somebody to run the business, like, because I'm starting to get pulled away from the organizing to run the business online, and I'm like, now I need to hire someone to come in and do that.
To do the online stuff?
Yeah. And like advertise, and a huge one is just keeping up with the clients and correspondence, because that takes so much time, and I'm sitting there doing my job and like having to like stop for a minute, and it's just so busy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, let's take a quick intermission.
Yeah. I'm always coming across things, and I'm always giving them to friends, family, donate. So if you ever like need stuff to add to I've come across like tripods and all kinds of stuff that people are like, oh,
Yeah, I mean, send a photo.
Mm-hmm. That's what I do. I'll be like, you want this? Yes, no, okay.
Last question about this, about like your business and stuff, just because like I do want to move on to other things. I can keep asking you questions about this for another 2 hours. That's the crazy thing. Like, I'm not even like...
You can ask whatever you want, and I don't mind how you do it, honestly.
What, I have a friend, and he needs... His parents need a lot of...
Help?
They need you. They fucking need you. His name is Alexander Mc... And when I'm driving home, I'm going to call him, and I'm going to say, dude, I just did an interview with someone. There's this business out here. It exists on the Central Coast. She will come in and she will talk to your parents and like hopefully get rid of all the stuff. Cause dude, like, he's like,
oh, that's funny. Everybody's like, what do you do? A professional organizer. I need you. I'm like, yeah.
He describes it like they're hoarders.
Yeah. Everybody thinks that they're hoarders. Everybody's like, I'm a hoarder. And then I'll go and I'll be like, no. Do you think they're hoarders?
I was going to say I've seen some of it. And it's like, it's hefty.
Is it?
It's like...
Are they collectors or are they hoarders?
Both.
Are they?
Yeah.
A lot of collectors become hoarders. Like, are they like antique people?
I feel like they have like just everything, like tons of towels. And just, like,
okay, so excess of everything.
And, like old clothes from like relatives and stuff. And Alex is like, dude, we can't throw it away because they're our dead relatives. And I'm just like, oh fuck. Like,
that's so hard. Those are the people that I'm really good at helping them not do it. That's funny.
Know what I've like noticed from doing these is because so I'm somebody like I want to get everybody like involved, sort of thing, like everybody's opinion, everybody's side, everybody's kind of like story, everybody's sexuality, gender, just like everything like on the thing. And I've noticed that it's a lot easier to get guys to come on the podcast than it is for like girls. Yeah. But don't get me wrong, I've done a lot of podcasts like with females, you know what I mean? But
I wonder why that is.
I would say it's a 1-to-4 ratio.
Totally.
And I'm like, I want to like mix it up and stuff, So like that's a question for you. Like, why do you think it's easier to get guys to come and do a podcast than it is for women?
That is interesting because I feel like I mean, we all know that women, this is definitely a man's world, even though it's changing. But it's definitely changing. Maybe they just feel like they can't. I don't know. Honestly, that's a good question, because when you ask me, I'm like, I'm all about it. Like, let's do this, you know? And that's a great question. Why do you think?
Definitely, like, for a guy to do this, they're not really, like, I don't know, like, I guess losing anything. Like a guy, there's like a, I don't know, there's like a masculinity thing. I don't know, like a guy would be like, oh yeah, like, fuck it, I'm down. Like, let's go, like, do a podcast. Like, you know, like, let's talk about shit. You know what I mean? Like, in my eye, like, I've seen a ton more, like, dude hosts than, like, girl hosts. So that, I don't know if that has something to do with it. And, like, with the girls, they might be a little more like, oh, like, do I really want to go, like, spill all my shit? Like, they might second guess themselves a little bit more. Yeah. But the thing is, like, some of the dopest podcasts have been with girls. I'm like stoked when you guys come on. And, like, honestly, like, nobody wants to stare at a bunch of, like, dicks all day, every single time. Like,
seriously, yeah.
You know?
That's actually a great, I could see that. And I could see them not, because I swear, one little weird detail that could come out can just get twisted into something, you know, and women can, it's just a scary thing to put everything out there sometimes. At least in my opinion, for women, because you never know. And especially like for me, I was like, yeah, let's do this, but it's taken me years to be able to have courage to do something like this, because I've had other people be like, hey, let's talk about, because we all know, you know, I have a past, and it's very, like, nerve-wracking to divulge that kind of information, because you don't want people to see you the certain way. And I don't know, I also think that people sometimes hold women to a very high standard of a certain way that we have to be, you know? Dang. At least, definitely with moms. And I go into people's homes all the time. Like, I'm very, very, like, it's a very close, intimate job, you know? For something to come out that can be spinned, you know, or something. It could just be scary for some women, I guess. When I was, like, first talking to your mom, like, about, like, potentially doing one with you, like, the thing that got me that she, like, disclosed right when she said it, I was like, this has to happen. What? And this is where it takes, like, a turn, and, like, we're gonna just fucking go, like, dive deep. But she said that you played Russian roulette. Russian roulette?
Yeah. With, like, a gun.
Oh, man, yeah. That was just one of the very... So... Okay. So, I was a drug addict. And, how do I even start that? I just went off on a gnarly path there for a little bit. I got to California in 2011. And I was looking at, like, 15 to 20 years in prison.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. I had just gotten out of jail. I actually got kicked out of Nevada before I could come here. I was kicked out of Nevada and was not allowed to be released until somebody came and picked me up and literally drove me out of Nevada. They wouldn't even release me from jail. So, anyway, I have this past of... drug abuse and violence, you know, sex industry stuff.
You were violent?
Yeah.
Like, you'd punch people?
No, I mean, like, I was always defending myself. Let's say that. Yeah. I was abused by, I think I had, like, so I've been married twice. Both were very abusive men. One of them I sent to prison for 7 years. And they were just not good people and dragged me down into drugs. And And during that time, I had a lot of very crazy experiences. And I vaguely remember, there's a lot that I don't remember, like chunks, like I'll remember incidences and, but that one is one that I vaguely remember, honestly. And I don't know how my mom would know that. Unless I told her when I was like really... Yeah.
Nah, I feel like you definitely told her.
Yeah, there's definitely... I probably told her when I was... probably when I was high, because once in a while I would be able to talk to him on the phone. But yeah, I came out here in July of 2011. 10
years ago.
Yeah.
Literally, we're in July and it's 2021.
Yeah, it was July of 2011. It was July 8th. So it just, my 10-year anniversary passed. I was going through the court systems. I was in jail. I think I had been in jail at that time. I was only in there for like a couple months. But that was one of the worst times of my life, though. Out of all the jail stints, I've been to jail in 8 different counties. And that one was one of the worst jail stints of my life because I was looking at a really long time. I had violated probation. I was looking at prison. Probation was recommending prison, which usually the judge sides with probation if they're recommending. And I was also put in segregation, which is one of the worst experiences of my life. And I was only let out like an hour every other day. I wasn't allowed any books unless it was like of Christian text, and couldn't see anyone, but they let me write other inmates, which was very interesting. Such a corrupt system. Maybe we can get into that a whole nother time. But yeah, my parents came and picked me up. The judge was like, I see something in you. I don't think that you belong in prison. He knew my past. He knew the people that I was around. He knew the abuse that came from my ex, who was very violent and was just known for, selling drugs and violence on police and racial violence. And he's like, he knew that I was dragged through everything and just kind of like forced to kind of go. I mean, I was forced, but I also had my own part to play, of course. And he was like, I want to release you, but there's no way that I'm going to let you. I'm going to give you another chance, but there's no way that I'm going to let you just like walk free so you can go out and offend again. Somebody has to physically come here and sign you out and take you. And they tracked me all the way to California. I had to go straight to probation office in California to make sure that I was in this state. And then they restarted my probation. I was on a diversion status. He even gave me the opportunity to completely start over and get the felony off my record if I did probation. And yeah, I've been out here. And
what were you going to jail for? You said you went to all these different jails. What were you going to jail for? Like, what were the crimes you were committing?
Yeah, so the one that I was looking at prison, that was robbery.
You robbed someone?
It was not a good time. But that one, I was also on probation during that time with a suspended sentence. Do you know what that means? Like, So let's say you get into trouble and you're charged with a crime and you're convicted. Okay, well, we're going to give you probation plus time served. I think at that charge I was in jail for like 6 months. You're convicted with a felony. We're going to put you on probation for this long, and here's the programs that you have to do. And I was in drug court and other programs that I had to do. So while you're on probation, if you offend again, you go back to court so you have a suspended sentence. So let's say you're put on probation for this. If you violate however many times, you're going to go to prison for that charge that we suspended. So I already had this time for one charge, then went out and committed a robbery and added on to, like, caught another charge and then went to court. And so both of those, they can either take, so the old crime that you were originally on probation for, you have that sentence, and then the new crime, if you're found guilty, you have that sentence. And they can either combine it together and run the prison time concurrent, where they put the two sentences together and just let you do your time all in one, or consecutive. You serve time on one charge or the other. And I was told that I was looking at like 15 to 20 just for this is what's fucked up. So the charge that I originally had that I was on probation for was internal possession of THC, and it was a felony because they drug tested me and I had THC in my system. So that gave them charge for that. So I had that, which was I can't remember exactly, and then I had the robbery, and then I was told that I was looking at 15 to 20, and then they just
Why did you rob somebody, and how did you do it?
Oh my god!
Did you like run up to somebody with like a handgun and like smash it on their nose?
No. So this one was actually not a person. It was at a store, and they were it was just the stupidest thing, and they overdid it. It wasn't even. It really shouldn't have been that. Honestly. So it was at a Walmart. It's so embarrassing. And I was just fucking high. And they were following me around. I think it was a Walmart. They were following me around, and I was just jacking all kinds of shit. Like all kinds of shit. I don't even know how I was even... I don't even know. I must have been up for a few days or something. I don't know. But thinking that I was totally going to get away with it, and that it was like, I'm not acting sketchy or anything. And then I come out, and that's the shit that you see. Like that one, at least. The one that I got caught on was the stupidest way to get caught, And I came out, and lo and behold, the cops came. It's still a little bit fuzzy. But as far as like robbing people violently, that's not. I've been involved in those situations, but that wasn't something like I was never the person to go out and be like, "Fuck you, I'm violent," blah, 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 I'm gonna fight you. I was always dragged along with the people that were.
Damn.
Yeah, and that's what sucked, and it was really like I've been in robberies and I didn't want to be there. But you kind of, like, if you weren't, then you'd probably get the shit beat out of you. It just was a really, really bad crowd. And I'm a little bit like... So, okay. I should probably just give you backstory real quick. So,
can you actually scoot this way like 2 inches?
Totally. I can't believe I'm saying all this.
Oh, dude, I love it. Like, this is... the thing, like it's all gonna tie up together at the end, and it's gonna be like, okay, this is fucking dope. Yeah. But no, keep going.
Okay. So I should probably. Do you want to hear like how I got into all of it, and then how it happened, or?
Yeah. No, definitely.
There's definitely like a way that it like evolved. It's not like I came into this world like, I'm a rebel, I'm going to be doing this and this.
Give me the evolution from day one when you first made the decision to start hanging out. Like, just tell me it go. Okay. Just go off right now.
So, as you know, you've heard my mom's story, how we were in the polygamous church. I mean, the Mormon religion. Well, there was like the beginning of where we were in a polygamous cult. Mm-hmm. My brother, me, and my sister, and then my parents, and my younger siblings were in it, but not really long enough to really do an extent of the damage that it did to, like, my brother and sister. But anyway, so we had all that, the sexual abuse and stuff. I was very sheltered when I was young, like, extremely sheltered. We only had, like, the Mormon the polygamous cult friends, and then we got out of that and we had Mormon friends, and I was homeschooled up to 5th grade, very awkward kid. I had Tourette's. I was being sexually abused when I was really young.
From Mormon people?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Yeah. Like, not your mainstream Mormon, but like your fundamentalists, which are the ones that live on the compound. They have multiple wives. My mom didn't really talk much about that side of it. She talked more of like growing up in the Mormons that you see nowadays, the Mormon religion that you see nowadays. But this was it was like the olden day Mormons when it first started. How it was founded was on polygamy and multiple wives, you know?
Yeah.
And then they were talking about, I remember they kept having me like dance with this guy because they were like kind of pushing me toward like, they were marrying kids off at like 11. Yeah. And
Dang.
so, and then my parents...
They were wanting you to get with the guy?
My parents did not, no. But the hierarchy, you should say, that was something that they were kind of like honing in on. And I remember them trying to keep letting me be around this guy. I can't remember his name. I know his last name was like Backer or something like that. And his family. And I could kind of like tell what was going on. And I think my parents could too, because not long after we just kind of not evolved out of it, we just left. So.
How old were you?
I would say like 11.
How old was he?
He wasn't way older. He was actually around my age. He wasn't...
Oh.
Or no, he was older, but not like an old man. He was like...
20?
Yeah,
18.
I would probably say that. I'm not really sure. I know he was older than me, but he wasn't like an old dude. But then again, it was really confusing because we were going over there a lot, and his dad had multiple wives. So I don't know, but I just remember them trying to keep pushing me toward this guy. And so I just had this weird feeling that it was kind of happening because they were like making me dance with him every dance and making me, it was just...
Was he like touching you and shit? Like sexually abusing you?
No.
Those were like older people?
Yeah, those were older people. Those were people that... Well, there was this time where my parents... So their missionaries would go to people's homes. Like they would serve their mission out at someone's house instead of like the mainstream Mormon religion. They have like a whole, like housing for missionaries. Well, these missionaries and the fundamentalists would serve their missions for a much shorter time and live in people's homes. And we had 2 of them, and there was sexual abuse that happened with that. And just, I don't want to make it all sad or whatever, but there's just a lot that happened. Let's just say that. And a lot that happened like on the compound itself. That was like in the middle of Tonopah, Nevada. It was just a gated, or not even gated, it was like fence, like a chain link fence, and there's like a bunch of trailers out there, and we'd have conference out there, and we'd all break into like Sunday school and stuff, and then they would I don't necessarily want to say certain things because it involves other family members.
Yeah, don't even worry.
Yeah. But that's how so I came in, so we got away from that church and then joined the Mormon religion, like the actual Mormon, the the LDS that you hear of nowadays. And, I was super awkward. I really came into this world very sheltered, as in like what the real world was like, as far as like sex.
They don't want you to know anything.
No,
they just want to have full control over you, brainwashing, conditioning.
Yeah.
Like that's, yeah.
Yeah. But one thing I always knew how to do was like sexual stuff, I guess. And was like sex and religion. That is what I pretty much, that's all I really knew. I didn't really know anything about the real world until, we left, and then we left homeschool. So I was held back, and I was put into public school in 4th grade, but I was supposed to be in the 5th grade. That was in Las Vegas, and literally my parents were so worried about us experiencing horrible shit, which is super funny because there was so much shit that happened they were so nervous of us just like experiencing violence and stuff that they didn't want to put us in public school. So they entered us. So the first school that they entered us into, there was a naked man that ran through the school with a gun.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I remember we were at lunch or something, and all the kids were outside, and he just comes like running through, and everybody had to be taken in, and they have automatic. We were in a pretty shitty part of town, so they like had automatic locks on the doors and stuff, and total lockdown, and that happened a couple times, like people coming through with guns. But I just thought it was kind of funny because it's like they were so scared of us going to public school, or because of something happening, and then it actually happened.
The first day?
No. Okay, the first year, yeah.
Got it.
Not long after at all. I would say like a couple months. And then they were actually, before we went into this one, they were looking at another one, and they saw a chick that was in 5th grade that was, or 6th grade that was pregnant.
No.
Yeah.
That's
she's
fucking
like, hey,
young.
we're not coming here. So anyway, so we went through all that. I still was super awkward. By that time, you just kind of build this core belief about yourself with all the stuff that had happened. I was weird. I was very, very shy. I was always very sensitive to energy, and I was still always very like into the metaphysical world, but could never say that, and I was like, I know there's something different about me, but I just went through public school, just feeling weird. And then I got, I would say in 7th grade, I got really big boobs. I had the biggest boobs in school till high school. They used to call me like double D's and big titties Duncan. And so that kind of like...
You're like, fuck these people.
Yeah.
Damn.
That was its own trauma. Sexual, like... abuse kind of followed me through my life. I just kind of not brought that out of people, but like I kind of just, I think starting so young, people just kind of like saw me as that or something. So I would always like get cornered like by kids to flash them.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Would you do it?
When they cornered me, yeah.
No.
I didn't feel like, it wasn't all the time, but like not, the cornering didn't happen all the time. Like people would like flick things in my cleavage, and but the cornering, like when a teacher would leave and they'd corner, like there was this one time there was like 4 guys and they cornered me behind the door, and they were like, just show us your boobs, and I didn't want to, and I was like, no. And then finally, just to get the fuck out of there, What made you not go like in my mind, I'm not going to do something that I don't want to do. Like, yeah. What stopped you from not going, hey, I don't want to show you my boobs right now. Like, to be honest, you're kind of disrespecting me, and I'm going to smack the shit out of you if you don't stop. Like, you can do that, and you can get away with that, too. Now,
like,
yeah. But then it was so... my confidence was so low. I had no confidence.
Dude, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. I hate when that shit happens.
Yeah, I had just been... and I also wanted to be cool, and granted, those are not the kind of crowd that I want to be cool, but I wanted to get out of there. It's very triggering to have, I think I don't know what it was, and I just did it, and that was that, I just was so used to just kind of like being beaten down like that, especially by men. And so that happened, and I went through and then I got a reduction in high school. Got a reduction and I felt better about myself. I didn't have nearly as much. It's so weird how how everything changed after that, you know? It was just, you know, I was just Stephanie. I was back to being shy, but for some reason, as soon as like everything, people kind of backed off, my confidence came back. As soon as I never had confidence, but I had confidence. I had the reduction. I felt better about myself. And that's what kind of got me into feeling better and kind of wanting to date, you know? So I had a friend who wanted to set me up on a blind date with her boyfriend's friend, who was like 8 years older than me. And by this time I was already into older men because of, you know, just not way older, but like just older than me, you know. I didn't really resonate much with the boys at my age. So I went on a blind date with this guy. I actually call it a half blind date because he only had one eye. He had like a little glass eye.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, his name's Andy, and he was like my first love. And okay. I was 16 or and 17.
And he was like 24, 25.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. So I ended up spending a lot of time with him. We fell deeply in love. And while I was still in school, he asked, we weren't even together for that long, and he got shit-faced, smoked weed, got shit-faced with my parents, and then asked them if, I remember he like took me in my dad and mom's room with them, and they were all drunk. I was fucking drunk, and asked them if he could marry me.
Is that not a red flag? Like, he's way older and you're like fucking...
You don't think that because my parents were like, yes, like they were smoking weed with the guy. Yeah. Like, looking back, yeah, it is a total red flag now. Yeah. But yeah, oh, absolutely. And they liked him a lot, honestly. And then it turns out, this was before I had my reduction. I had my reduction. I had my reduction while I was in school, and I started dating him while I was in school. And so during that time, I had my reduction while I was with him. Turns out his mom was one of the assistants for the surgeon, which was super funny. So yeah, him and I ended up, he was my first love, and he got me like out of my shell. And okay. I had a ton of confidence. I was feeling better about myself after the surgery. And I dropped out of school.
And you're in California at this point?
No, I was in Utah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This was when I lived in Utah. And I'm I'm from Utah. And yeah, I dropped out of school. Ended up doing life with him. Moved in when I was 17 with him. We were planning the wedding, and he was Mormon, but he was not active, and he said that he, got kicked off of his mission early for smoking weed and having sex. So I was like, oh, he's not going back to the church. And by this time, I was out of the church. My family was done. We were totally left the church. He came in like, no, I'm not LDS, or I don't practice anymore, and so I kept dating him. I'm like, cool, this is great. We're going to get married. And we were living together. And I was cleaning our room one time and came across a little notebook, a spiral notebook. I'm like, oh, what's this? First page I open it to, it's his journal. And he's talking about when we first met. So I was like, reading it. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. And so I kept reading, even though knowing by that time it was his journal. And then flip to this page where he's like, what did I do? Why did I ask her to marry me? Blah, blah, blah. Because he decided he wanted to go back to church. So anyway, so he's like, I need to get out of this. And
did you confront him that you read his
yeah.
shit?
Oh, it was so out of left field. And I found out that his family was on him about marrying me because I wasn't LDS. And that I left the church. Ooh, that's cool. How'd you get it like that?
I don't know. It's fun to play with it.
It really is. That's super cool.
So divorce.
Yeah. So we weren't married at that time. We were planning the wedding.
So
he broke my heart. No, he totally broke my heart. That was my first heartbreak ever. It was like life-changing for me. And then we split ways, and I just wanted him back so bad. He's like, only if you go to church again. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, but we can't have sex for 2 years. And I'm like, fuck that. You know, like, I'm not doing that. And so we ended up getting back together anyway, and then we got pregnant and had my daughter.
Okay.
And he wanted to eventually get married. And I said no, because while I was pregnant, he cheated on me. So I'm like, real? Yeah. Damn. So, yeah, I'm just kind of rushing through it. But he cheated on me, and by that time, I was so disgusted with him. He was smoking weed all the time, but turns out it actually wasn't weed. Because he would, like... I was so naive, by the way. I still had never smoked weed, never had a drink. And he'd be, like, nodding out on the couch, and I thought that was weed, you know? And I was like, oh, you know, like, you're such a drug addict. Like, you're smoking weed all the time, and you're gonna, like, overdose and all this shit. And so I ended up he asked me to marry him again. And I was like, no. And I'm like, I don't want you here anymore. I kicked him out. He went back to his family's house, his mom's. And then I went and met someone else, and he didn't like that I didn't want to be with him, and he became controlling. And so we started a custody battle that would actually set the rest of my life and set me on a path of drugs and stuff. So he took my daughter from me.
Completely?
Totally. Completely took. I was sitting at work. I had a great job, benefits. I was a really, really good mom. And I was seeing this new guy that I didn't know would be a horrible person later on, but seeing this new guy kicked Andy out, or baby daddy number 1 out, and I was seeing this new guy, and I was working, and I come to work one day, and I drop my daughter off to school, or to the babysitter, come to work, and then somebody comes in with some papers, and he's like, "Are you Stephanie Duncan?" And I was a front desk clerk, and I'm like, "Yes." And he set some papers down, and said, "You've been served." And I looked at the name, and was like, I said, "Are you Trisha's dad?" Trisha was this woman that was just killed. It all ties in together, I promise. Was this woman that was just killed, had just been killed by this guy. It was this whole drug thing, and I went to school with her, and she had one of the most brutal deaths in that area, and she was just killed. And then I seen the person that served me was her dad, and I looked on his face, and I was like, "Are you so-and-so's dad?" He's like, "Yeah," and he just looked broken. I will never forget that. And I called my aunt who was watching my daughter, and she said, "Stephanie, she's not here. They came and took her." And I was calling everywhere trying to figure out where she was, and I couldn't find my daughter. And so I called my grandma. I didn't have any money for an attorney because they were super expensive. I didn't even know what was going on. It just was out of left field.
You're not going into work the next day?
No. I think actually I did. I had to, because my work saw everything. They were super helpful and supportive, but pretty much my world came crashing down. I finally got in touch with an attorney, and he was able to get into the information and see where she was and explain to me what was going on. And they had done an emergency order, and that's when I found out that the guy that I was with, who seemed like a totally normal, to me at the time, a totally normal guy. He did jujitsu. He he told me that was his job, that he was like doing jujitsu and stuff. And turns out that he was like a felon and a known ex-drug addict, because he looked very, very clean. And I just was very like naive, you know, at that time. Like I didn't know what anything was and what things looked like. And I was like, all I knew was there was this very good looking guy that I thought was at the time into me, and he had tattoos, and that was different because we were Mormon, you know. And I just think that my perception of what was good was so warped at that time. Now looking back, like I had no idea, and I didn't have a very good upbringing of somebody to tell me like this isn't okay, you know.
Yeah.
So, are we running out of time?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, you're telling me. Don't even trip. Don't even trip.
So, I just thought that was... And I was kind of a little bit rebellious at that time, as in, like, not rebellious, like, I'm going to do this. It's like, well, I'm not Mormon. Like, there's a guy with tattoos. Like, that was my rebellious side, you know? And, anyway, so Then they made these false claims that never were even a thing, you know, saying that I did drugs, even though I had never even tried. I smoked weed one time with Andy when he finally talked me into it, you know, and I thought, I'm like, I'm going to overdose. Like, I was so just literally the most naive
person. Didn't have enough knowledge.
No knowledge, none. And I was so scared of drugs in general, like just what you hear. But I didn't really go, like, you know, the public school that I had, I just didn't have the knowledge of what normal people would say. And I don't think that my parents did either, in a way, because they didn't really, you know, it's just a basic, like, drugs are bad, you know, but you don't know. Nowadays, I think that they should teach what drugs do to your brain and, like, how you react to them and stuff, you know, and how the neurotransmitter damage that it can do. But yeah, I was just so confused because I was just such a good mom, you know, and I had my own apartment. I had a great job, and I just loved my daughter so much, and I was a really good mom. And I didn't know that this guy, by that time, I didn't know that I was being, I don't want to say like groomed, but I didn't see the abuse while it was happening, like the weird, like psychological, like him luring me away. Like to this day, during that time, I didn't even see it, you know, because I was still able to do my thing. And yeah, I was hanging out with him, but I didn't see that the time that he was gradually asking to spend with me was taking me more and more away from like my brothers and sisters and spending time with my family, you know.
Being alienated.
Yeah, and I did not even see it. It was just crazy. But at the same time, Andy was very, very upset that I didn't want to be with him. So he went back to his family, said he wanted to really get back into the church, and then use that. And then we entered into this custody battle where I would just have all this corruption. Like, my attorney that we were paying was friends with his attorney, and everyone was intertwined that was involved in the battle was all Mormon, and it was so infiltrated into the case that I was pretty much pushed out. And at this time, my family... Well, I should say my mom and my dad, because my siblings were too young to really be involved. But my mom, you know, I don't feel like I can fully like open up about that, because you did do an interview with my mom, but you know, she had a huge part to play in some things, and you know, we've made our peace with that, and she feels absolutely terrible for what happened. But she was young, and we had our own issues at the time, but I went down at this time. I didn't feel like, I was so in shock of what had happened. So I came home, the way it happened was just so, like, almost like it had been set up. So she gets taken. I'm pretty much freaking out. I finally find out where she is, trying to figure out what to do. I go home, and I had before, this was like, I had kicked Andy out maybe like 2 months before or something like that. And I had given him money to go pay this was when I had my daughter. I had given him money to go pay one of my car payments. And this was like before you could do everything on the phone, you know. Went down, gave him money to go pay. Well, he never paid it. He went and took that money and bought some other stuff. I don't know what it was, but I don't know. Never paid it, but I didn't know. I never like got a notice that I was behind. So I just kept paying my car payment, and
you would give it to him instead of just paying
just that one time after I had her. Yeah, because I couldn't like get up and go, and it was one time. Had no idea that this whole time I was behind a payment as I like kept paying. So so she gets taken for the emergency thing. I go home. The next day I wake up, my car's being repoed, and then the next day after that, because him and I were splitting utilities, but he totally stopped paying the utilities. So I had fallen behind on that. Utilities got shut off. And then the guy that I was seeing, he's like, why don't you just, move in with me and I can take care of you. And it's so blurry how it happened. And I think at this time, everything was just a blur because it just happened so fast. And I moved in with him a couple days later. And as soon as I got into his home, pretty much, so we ended up going back to court. And I ended up getting, once they saw that, everything that they said was going on was not true. And I had CPS, check me out. And they're like, she's totally fine. I got 50-50 custody back. Like we were sharing custody at that point. The emergency order was done. They gave me more time with her to catch up for the time that I had lost. But during that time that I could only see her 3 hours every week, just from having her all the time to taking my baby and then only having 3 hours with her, pretty much crushed every bit of, I just say my heart pretty much went cold, like to stone at that time, and changed my whole life pretty much. And I remember being so upset about the things that they were saying about me in court, that I was sitting there crying at my now new home with my boyfriend. And I got angry at him about something. I was like, don't talk to me right now. And then he comes over and he just hits me across the face. That was the first time I ever experienced like,
not the boyfriend that just took your daughter,
no,
but the new boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because you were like crying and shit.
Yeah, and the one that was alienating me, And I sat there.
The second guy, right?
The second guy, yeah. Okay. And he hit me across the face, and I just was taken back. And I remember in that moment, it's like I just stepped outside of myself or something, and I'm like, this is my life. Like, how did this... I just started the same cycle that my grandma was in, like she has a history of abusive men, and I'm standing here, somebody that I never thought that I would be, and this man just hit me. Like, first time anyone has ever hit me across the face, like it was just out of body experience. And
probably hurt like shit too.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, it was...
unnecessary.
It's very unnecessary, but it was so pivotal to the rest of how everything, like you have to remember, I was in a very good state of mind. Like after I had my daughter and everything, I never was in a bad state of mind, but the confidence down low, like the core of the energy that I was putting out, was bringing in things that were not good for me, because I had a really shitty upbringing and no sense of self. even though I wasn't doing anything bad, I had a great job, I still, to the very core of me, had the way that I functioned, you know, even though it wasn't something that I was doing in my everyday life. Like, I wasn't an addict. I wasn't drinking. I just was trying to be the best that I could be. I was a good mom. I've been raising kids since I was really young. And I just was, but I still had this broken child inside of me that was severely sexually abused and, you know, abused by my own mother, and, you know, not having the strong, just, we didn't have a very strong parental foundation, I guess, you know, and because my mom had her own issues too, so it was just really hard. So it kind of trickled out into my life, and I couldn't even see what was really happening. And then when my daughter got taken away, like, pretty much everything that I cared about was gone. I don't remember during that time. Apparently I went to Vegas and got married to this guy. I remember him saying, this is going to help you, because he said that he was trying to go to the military, and he's like, this is going to help you if you marry me. This is going to help your case. Just all the manipulation, and I just didn't understand. So I don't even remember going down there and getting married because I was so checked out.
Were you on drugs at this point?
No, this was way before I ever even touched a drug, besides weed with the first baby daddy, like that one time. And so that's what's crazy, is I never even touched a drug, and I just was checked out. It just hurt so bad, you know. So we got married, and then
in Vegas. Third guy now.
No, this is still the second guy, the alienating guy.
Okay, my bad. I thought, like, you left that guy at home, went to Vegas for the weekend, and found a third guy.
No.
Okay.
This was still, because we didn't live far from Vegas.
Got it.
St. George is only like an hour and a half from Vegas. So this guy, like, alienated me, took me in, had him living with him. He's the one who first hit me. He was the first abusive relationship I was in. His name was, am I allowed to use names or no?
Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, his name's Adrian. You can find him on the news, actually. He actually kidnapped a girl one time. So yeah, Adrian Salaya, his information is very public. But I didn't know that at the time. So we went and got married still before I ever did any drugs. And that's what I didn't really understand, was I wasn't doing anything bad. So I didn't understand what was happening. So then so I got custody of my daughter back, but then by this time I had no support. So when I was actually being abused, I had no support there, and I didn't want my daughter to get taken. So I didn't say anything, and the abuse wasn't very often. It was like once in a while we'd get into a fight, and it was never in front of my daughter at the beginning. And but I didn't want her to be taken, so I could never say anything. So then we kept going into this custody battle. They tried to paint me into being this horrible person, saying that I was using drugs when I never was, but they were just saying that to be. And then it came, so I kept trying to push that he was, you know, my kid's dad was doing drugs, like, just test him. So we'd have to go get hair follicles, and then I would always come out clean, but he would shave his head and, like, try to clip every bit of him and, like, let hair grow out. And they would purposely make the drug test sound, like, they would purposely draw it out long enough, like 2 weeks, until he could go get the test. Like, it was so fucking corrupt. I can't even to go into all the details of the things that they did to keep her away from me. Even when I did finally get away from that guy, it was insane. And then a lot of it had to do with, like, keeping her in that religion.
And this is, so the very first guy that you had the baby with, he's trying to keep the daughter from you at this point?
The very first guy, the family is. And
you're living with this abuser.
Yeah. That wasn't an abuser in the beginning, but I didn't know that he would be. And so he originally was trying to keep her from me because he was jealous. And this was before anybody knew the kind of person that he was. Andy was super, super jealous. And he didn't like that I didn't want to be with him. So he used the Mormon religion and was like, I want to come back to church. And, oh, well, we need to get her away because she shouldn't be with a woman that's not Mormon, pretty much. Because they believe in eternal life. So if I ever talked her into not getting baptized, then she could, like, be not part of them or whatever. So
with the Mormon church was involved with
heavily.
Your daughter's case?
Oh, heavily involved.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It feels like that should be like a government thing, not a church thing.
Yeah, well, it is a government thing, but even though the Mormon church isn't like in the courtroom, it's the whole like
They're all talking to each other.
Very, very much. So yeah, the judge, my attorney, and this all starts to come out through the custody battle. Like, my test went missing, but his tests were always like drawn out. Like, he was the only one that got them. Like, it was terrible. Like, and no matter what I did, even when I left that guy, eventually when I finally was like, I was able to sneak away. Oh my God. So the relationship got very abusive. He made me quit my job. Even I had like really good insurance, and he, since we were married, got on my insurance. This was the second guy. Mm-hmm. Got on my insurance, had a major surgery that he needed to have done. And then as soon as he healed, called my work and said she's not coming in, and like quit my job for me. And then I didn't have any insurance. And
you're okay with him letting you quit your job? No,
by that time I just was so beaten down at that point that I just didn't even really have any. I was so worried about having my daughter taken from me that I didn't want to cause any chaos, at that point.
Yeah.
And because I knew any little thing that I did, I just wanted to look like a good mom, even though I was, and I just wanted my daughter. I knew that, and they were looking for any little thing. So it would have been better if I could have gone to somebody about the abuse, but I had been totally like shut out by my family, and that's by my mom, I should say, and that has been a really big issue for us, but we're good now with that. But yeah, where was I? So eventually I left him. I left that guy after a lot of, really shitty times.
How old's your daughter at this point when you left him?
This was all in a short period of time. That she was by that time like a year.
Okay.
This was all very
quick.
Very quick, yeah. That's why it was so confusing to me, because it was like I was this one way that was, like I felt good about myself. My body was looking good. I was feeling good. I had a great job, really good insurance. Like, I'm like on my way, Kicked my kid's dad off to the side because I thought he was a drug addict. He was falling out all the time. I find out later that he was on heroin this time, and I had no idea.
The first guy?
Yeah. I had no idea till years later. But I was just on my way. I started to date a new guy that I thought was awesome. He was jiu-jitsu. And then daughter taken, family cutting, like just boom, 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 boom. Like super quick. Still had never used a drug. Still being told I was on drugs, and I was super confused. I was like, I have done all these tests. Some tests went missing. Some showed that I wasn't on drugs. Like, just a freaking disaster. So by this time I went from like this person to a shell of a person who just wanted their baby. Like, and at this point I became very suicidal, like horribly suicidal. He was keeping me locked in the house. He was marking down miles, hiding so I had went and made a copy of a key to my car, and I hid it because he would take the keys and stuff. And
sketch.
Yeah, it was very, very controlling. And one day so I was on, do you remember MySpace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never had one, but I know what.
Yeah. I had a MySpace account, and I had no friends or anything at this point. He kept me to myself. But I had this person add me on MySpace, and I was talking to him. His name was Mark, and he had just moved here to St. George. And out of everyone that I could have been, like, he was somebody that nobody knew, and I was talking to him, and I, like, just kind of, he was my only friend in pretty much the whole world that I was, like, really talking to, you know? And it was online, so it was careful, you know, and it's not like the guy had my passwords or anything. And I just kind of built this little, like, friendship with this guy over online. And I was so tired of being, like, stuck in the house and living like this that, you know, it was the last fight that we had where he almost broke the damn door down when I had my daughter in my hands. And that I couldn't do that anymore. So he got home. I had started making this plan with this Mark guy to come and meet him. And that was my first, like, start to get away, like, attempt to really kind of, like, get away, you know?
This Mark guy was going to come to your guys' house?
No, I was going to go to his house.
And just not go back.
And not go back. Yeah. Like, I was like, it was so weird.
It was a plan. You were,
yeah,
like,
I was like, but him, out of all people, like, that was the only person that I felt, like, this connection to, that I could open up to, because there was nobody else. Nobody. And so Adrian got home. He went to bed because he got home from work. I went and I got the car key that I hid, went into the garage. I had my daughter. My heart was, like, pounding at this time. Put her in the car seat, didn't buckle her up yet because it was so fast. And I had, like, the little garage door opener on my car, turned the car on, clicked the garage door. And right as the garage door, like, got high enough for the car to come out, I just, like, backed it up as quick as I could. And I remember putting it in park, and I turned around to quickly buckle my daughter up, and I turn around, and he's running at me, like, the lights are on him.
Tell me the doors are all locked.
Oh, everything is freaking locked at this point. He's running at me in his boxers, like, his eyes are just fucking huge, and I'm like, and I think that's when I locked the door. And he jumps on the hood, and he just looks at me, and he's, like, moving slowly to the side, and he's like, open up this fucking door, da da da. And then he, like, brought it down. He's like, I'm so sorry, you know, pleading and everything. And he's, like, on the side. I don't even know. He was just doing all kinds of stuff. He couldn't get in, and I put it in drive, and I just step on it, and I see him fall, and I hear a boop, and I, like, totally, like, ran his leg or something over.
Good.
Yeah. And so and it was such an amazing feeling, but I was so, I can't even tell you the emotions that I was feeling at that time. Like, he was so, like, it was fear, adrenaline, everything. And I was, like, looking in the rearview mirror, and I see him on the road, and he's super over dramatic. And so he was like, oh, you know. Anyway, I just remember hoping that I really hurt him. First time I ever had the balls to do something like that. And so I didn't know this Mark guy personally, so I had called my kid's dad, and I was like, hey, I'm not feeling well. Can I meet you to pick up my daughter? And he was like, yes. So I met him. I went to Mark, all trying to seem like I had everything put together, because I didn't want anybody to take my child from me, but I also needed to try to, you know, find some sort of support of some kind. And so I took the car, met up with Mark, and he brought me into his mom's house, and him and his mom, and they were the first people that I just let everything out to, him and his mom. And they totally took me in, and they're like, we need to get you away from him. We need to get your stuff, and we need to move you out. Like, and I just created this friendship with this guy online, and then I'm meeting him in person, and he was so kind to me, and his mother was so kind to me, and they were the ones that helped me to get away from him at first. But they were the catalyst for me to have that courage to leave. And they were the ones that would get me into drugs.
Mark and the mom?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. The very first drug I ever used was meth, and it was with a needle. I didn't even know you could do it any other way yeah.
That's so crazy. It's just psychopath after psychopath after psychopath. These people are psychopaths.
Yeah, and he wasn't even psycho. He was actually normal. He was just an addict, but he wasn't using at the time. He told me, I moved here from Salt Lake. Once I got to know him, I moved here from Salt Lake. I am clean. I've got my life together. I'm like, good for you. First guy I ever hung out with that was on that had ever done drugs besides my kid's dad and his friends, but I didn't know in hindsight. He was the first guy, and he was on probation or parole, because he'd been in prison, had his life, just trying to better his life, and he seemed so cool, and he was really the only person that I had. And I was I was hanging out with him for a while, and then my ex found me. He went around all of St. George and searched for my car, found the car, had his keys, took it, kept all my kids' stuff and mine from me. He's like, we're married, you don't get this stuff back. Then I tried to get the stuff, and I went into the house, and he found me, and then we got into a huge fight, and I was running up the street, and I was calling Mark. I was like, please come help me. And that was a really bad experience too, and he came and helped me, and then I just stayed with Mark while I was going through custody. And of course, that having him on my side they liked that I was away from Adrian, and I was able to get back in contact with my brother and sister after that. They invited Mark in to their life, and they actually were thankful that he helped me get away from Adrian. And then eventually, after us being friends for a while, I did go back. I did go to hang out with Adrian one other time, and during that time he got a phone call that his mom had killed herself. Because she was one of those people that was oh, the reptilians are after me and all that kind of stuff.
Damn.
And she killed herself to keep all of us safe. And so
that's so sad.
It's really sad.
That's really sad.
And I'll tell you, there was some weird stuff that happened with her and that whole thing. But that was the first time I ever heard about reptilians and all that. And she was just very out there. But I did hang out with him one time, and that happened, and then I felt bad, so I spent some days with him, and he his mom, we got into one fight because I told him I was going to dump his mom's ashes out everywhere. It was so shitty. I shouldn't have said that. So he beat the living shit out
Mark?
of me. No,
Adrian.
Adrian, yeah. And because I went back and hung out with him for a couple days. And
why?
Because I don't know. I think that, when women are abused, from what I've learned after, having classes and therapy, apparently we create these chemicals when we're being abused that are similar to when a baby's breastfeeding. It's almost like a bonding chemical. And by that time, you just get into this cycle of needing someone like that. It's very psychologically fucked up and
chemicals.
Right. Yeah.
Literally chemicals,
yeah.
So you go to his house because you just had the need to do it.
Yeah,
and then
this
he
weird
said his
thing.
mom died.
So yeah, and she did. We were at a liquor store getting stuff, and he got a phone call from his stepdad, and he had left a voicemail saying, "Give me a call, it's about your mom." And he made me check the voicemail because he was freaking out, and I had to tell him that his mom had committed suicide, and he freaked out. And then by that time, his family was like, "Don't leave him, he needs you here for him." And so I spent the next, I would say more than a few days, but more the next couple weeks or something, but we weren't living together. It was I would leave and go have my time with my daughter, but And then we got into a fight one night. This was when he had his mom's ashes, and I told him that I didn't want to be with him, like, I don't want to continue doing this, and he got really angry, and then I got angry, and I said something fucked up. Like, I'm sure he said some way worse things to me, but I couldn't take it anymore, so I said, I'm going to dump your mom's ashes out. It was really quite terrible. Something that popped off at the mouth, and I remember his eyes went black, and he jumped on top of me and, like, put my arms to my side and, like, locked me in, and he had because I had given him my old wedding ring, and he, like, had it on his finger and just, like, boom, 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 and, like, punched me and cut the underneath my lip, like, cut it. I still can feel the split that he left, and he gave me a black eye, fat lip.
Were you, like, bleeding and shit?
Oh, yeah.
Like, was your face fucked up?
Oh, it was fucked.
Damn,
it was
bro.
so
I'm sorry.
fucked up. And he called my friend Ashley, who had been my friend since 6th grade, and she was there for me too, but I still couldn't talk to her that much. But he called her on my phone. He's like, come pick your friend up, and then threw the phone at my head. And she came and got me and took me back to Mark's, and then that's when that was the last time. And you're just
fucking, like, you can't even move.
No,
like, you're just laying there trying to recover.
I was fucked. And so his mom helped me feel better, and then I was totally away from Adrian, kept going to court, still never had done any drugs, didn't even drink. Like, the only thing I did was smoke cigarettes at this point. I got into smoking cigarettes after I met Mark. And Mark was clean, he was working, and I remember I was just trying to get my life together after that. I was like, this is my life. Like, I've broken it down because of this man, and I was doing everything I possibly could do. I realized I was an abused woman, and I needed help. Mark was very kind to me, but he lived in a trailer. He had a record too, so I couldn't really, like, divulge any of his information or his name and stuff, but I still had some custody of my daughter, and I was working on getting more of that back, and wasn't really working because all this shit was happening that, oh, well, now she can't carry a job and she can't do this. And then once I left him, I thought that was going to help me, but it actually hurt me more when I finally got completely away from him, because then I didn't have any income at that point, and they counted his income as mine. And as soon as I left him, they're like, oh, well, she has nothing now. And then I actually lost. I remember going into court, and I had lost more time, and I was so defeated. And Mark was like, Stephanie, I know something that will take this feeling away from you.
Shut up.
Yeah, and by that time, that's when I was super suicidal. Like, I was ready to just go, and because it's like, no matter what I did, I couldn't do better. I had no support whatsoever, and I was like, I don't care what it is. And he told me about meth, and of course, you hear of meth, but you don't know. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. Everything is done for me. At this point, I would have welcomed death, because that was like something that was in my mind, Yeah. So his mom, I did drugs with him when he was relapsing. Like, this was his relapse.
They give you, when they're like, yo, like, we want, like, if you want this feeling to go away, here's they give you heroin, is my guess.
Meth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was the first one that I did. And, I remember they loaded up the thing, and did it. And it was true. I didn't feel anything. Like, I got high, but I was like, this is it. And apparently it was like all just crappy stuff or whatever. And then it was the time after that I did it. And then I was pretty much hooked on it, because it really just kind of...
Did it make everything go away?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So doing meth literally made everything go away?
Yep.
What did it feel like being high on meth?
I don't miss it at all these days, but at the time it was an amazing feeling. At the
euphoria,
time,
happiness,
very much euphoria.
Somebody get my life together.
Yeah, thing. Like it just, you were so focused on the high that it was weird. So I would always walk around with this gut wrench in my stomach ever since my daughter was taken, and it was either I was numb or like I just wanted to fucking die pretty much. And then like there was no happy days except when I had her, you know, and even then it was like, but then this took that pit out of my stomach and made me feel what I perceived as joy, but it was just euphoria. It was a chemical reaction. It was just so much, you know, dopamine, and so I kind of bonded with that feeling of, oh my God, like I can feel joy again, but even though it wasn't. And so I did it, and that was the first time I had ever done a drug. And I remember thinking, I'm like, they want to blame me for doing drugs. I'm just going to fucking do it. I don't even care anymore. And that was it. And it just kind of started me on a path to just a downward I don't even know if you could say downward spiral. That started me on my drug path. That everything that I had been going through was already a shitty, like, broken down, like, path that is as if you were doing drugs. People might experience that, but mine was so different, as in I didn't do anything wrong to have it start out like that, you know? Like, there was no reason for them to take my daughter from me. I didn't know anything of anything, and then finally I entered into drugs about a year after everything, I would say. And that brought me to, brought me to Salt Lake. It brought me to Las Vegas. It brought me into Nevada. I stayed with Mark. We went on a run pretty much, you know. I got into fraud. That was my first charge, was a fraudulent charge. Then I met my at the time second husband, who I found out later was best friends with Adrian at the time. Or not at the time, but they had been drug buddies, you know. They had like run the streets together. He just, you know, just one dirtbag after another pretty much. Mark ended up going to jail. I got clean when I went to Salt Lake. I stayed with my grandpa, got clean, got a dental assisting job, was doing really good. And then I had talked to John, who was my second husband, John Rupp. And he got out, and he was like I just picked the dirt bags, and he was he had an ankle monitor and shit, just ugh. And he was nice to me too, you know, like I perceived that as nice. And, you know, Adrian ended up back in the picture to hang out, to be with John or whatever. And we got into like a high-speed chase in a Lexus. And that was the first time I went to jail in Nevada.
Were you driving?
No. Oh. I was in the backseat sleeping. But I was there with them when they stole it.
Damn.
Yeah. And John and Adrian were in, I've never been racist ever in my life, but they, John, not Adrian, John, because Adrian's actually half Hispanic, but John was into the white supremacy movement. And that was the first I had really ever heard of that. And I just really felt at the time like I had been clean, met John, and then moved into an apartment out of my grandpa's house, let John move in with me, and then John came home with meth one day, and then here, you know, we're relapsing. And ended up losing my job, of course. And
why?
Because I got back onto drugs.
Oh, and you just stopped going to work and shit?
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. And you know, you just get sucked into that life. And my family, I had out in Salt Lake, my mom's family's out there, and I was close to them. I was building, you know, a relationship with them again until I let John into my life. And he was the reason why I relapsed. I mean, it was my own choice, but you have it right there in front of me. I'm like, oh, I remember that. It's not going to be what it was. And, you know, and you just do it, and you're already fucked at that point. You're just damaged. And then, oh, yeah, you know, Adrian, well, he gets a hold of him, and I come home, and Adrian's in my house. And that was the first time I overdosed, which I didn't know you could overdose on meth, and I almost died from overamping on that. We got into... That was the first time I ever was held up at gunpoint in a hotel. And Adrian and John left me there and let these people hold me up at gunpoint. And it just was a lot. You know, there was a lot of, I know I'm kind of bouncing around, but there's so much that was like blocked out, or not blocked out, but so many different things that happened. And then we got into the high-speed chase in Nevada, and that's where I found out I had a warrant out for my arrest for fraud in Nevada, because I had committed a crime over the border of, there was a Wendover, it's a town that borders Utah and Nevada, and I tried to cash a fake payroll check on the side of Nevada, which I didn't know because it was in a casino. And so then again, I'd left the check there along with my ID, and I had this warrant out that I had no idea about until we got pulled over. And I went to jail. Stayed in jail for about 2 months. And then they came and got me and transported me to another jail in a different county. And then that kind of just started my jail stints of... you know, and then I ended up in Nevada, which was a whole nother chapter of drug use. And that's where I got into heroin, and that's where I got into the sex trade, and really a lot deeper into, because by that time I was involved with people that were more like deep into it, you know, and then we got involved with like it's really hard for me to talk about race on here because I don't want anyone to think that I was ever racist, but like that's where we got into, you know, that's just kind of where I finally had felt accepted by people, I guess, and that turned into its own abuse. Like John ended up being extremely abusive, probably one of the most abusive men that I'd been with. He had broke my jaw.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
The guy that you met on MySpace?
No, that's Mark. Mark is so, like, we fought, but he's not anything like Adrian and John. He was not a psychopath. He was just a drug addict, and we went through drugs together. He actually is very, very kind soul, and I still have... to this day, I'm very thankful for him in a weird way. Yeah. For getting me away from Adrian. And, you know, he was like, he helped me a lot, but also like didn't in the same way. I think if I hadn't met him, I probably would be dead, because I feel like I would have taken my own life had I not. I feel like drugs kind of saved me in a way, because I don't think I would have lived through any more of it if I could feel any more of it. So I see everything that's happened in my life as a synchronicity. Like everything happened for a reason of how I got to where I'm at, and you know, how I do what I do now. But it's just it was a lot. And then I ended up, you know, putting John in prison for abusing me.
And he went for 7 years?
Huh?
7 years?
Yes, for 7 years. Hey. Oh. Sorry. We're doing a podcast.
Oh, you are? Are you filming right now?
Yeah. So
I'm trying to like fit it all in, and I don't know. There's so much.
The thing is, you're killing it, and like there's just so much information, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
Really quick, there's the first guy you met was the Catholic dude, and his name was Andy.
No, he's Mormon.
Mormon.
Catholic.
Sorry,
yeah.
Mormon.
Yes, Andy.
Was he abusive?
Nope.
Okay.
Never.
Second dude you met was Adrian. Abusive. You ran his ass over.
First abusive man.
Third guy you met was Mark. You guys just did drugs together.
We did drugs together.
Was it sexual, romantic?
It was. It ended up being that way, yeah.
And then fourth guy you met was John.
Yep.
The most, compared to Adrian, the more abusive one.
Yes. In two different ways, yes. Adrian was more psycho. No, they were both really bad. But yeah, you're right. Fourth guy, and that guy actually was really good friends with Adrian. John was. And when they were running the street together, yeah. And I didn't know. And then till he got out of prison, till John got out, it's so really bad. But yeah.
You have 2 kids.
I have 2 kids.
So the one that you had right now that you're telling in the story, is she in your life?
Yes, very much so. Her and I are very, very close.
Who does she go and stay with?
She's still in Utah. That's the name of the game with the religion. Like, she doesn't even, that's a whole nother.
You don't get to see her?
Oh, no, I do. She was just out here for the summer. I get to see her, yeah. Like, now that she's old enough to have a say, I've been able to see her. It's just they don't want me to have her long enough where I would pull her out of the religion. And so now,
do you miss her?
Every day. It's a daily struggle for me.
Go get her.
I've already tried.
Is she going to come to you, like, when she's 18?
Oh, yeah. She's gay. Well, she says she's bisexual, but now she's, like, leaning into more. She's going through a whole bunch of changes right now, but she's just the most beautiful human being you would ever meet, and they're not exactly as accepting of her out there, and she's seeing that. Like, they're not accepting these sides of her because she's in the middle of nowhere at this point. Like, they took her away out of the county into this tiny little shithole, even though they weren't allowed to do that. And pretty much just totally didn't give me any time with her during that time. And because they didn't want any, well, for one, at that time I was just doing drugs, but even when I was a good mom, like, they don't want her to be out of the religion because
that's fucked.
Oh, it's so fucked up. Dumb. Like, it's so fucked up, and that family just kind of brushes everything under the rug. Like, she was being raised by his sister. Mind you, he was off doing drugs, but they didn't want me to know this. Mm-hmm. Andy was doing drugs way before I even knew what the hell was going on.
And the family didn't tell you?
No. Andy told me. They didn't say a thing. They were like, you just stand here in front of the judge and you better act this way and say this. Then he could get off the hook and go do whatever he wanted. But they needed her to be in the religion. Like, it's so deeply, like, feared of leaving the religion that they're not going to have her, like, eternally if she leaves. You know what I'm saying? And it's actually, I found out I'm not the only woman that's gone through this. They have a whole following of women who have lost custody of their children if the father is, like, in the church, and they will, the church will purposely go in and, like, you know, everybody's, like, in each other's, they just have connections, and they will do whatever they can to fuck it up. Yeah.
Dude, I have a million more questions, but yeah. I legit, I have to back up and go to work, but just let me say a couple things really fast.
Yeah.
And just try and answer it in literally, like, one sentence. Okay. If you can. I know that's a lot of pressure.
No, you're fine.
How old is your first daughter?
She will be 15 in September.
Does she have access to watch this podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, let's send this shit to Utah.
I'm going to, yeah.
And tell them to fuck themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And
she
have
knows.
her...
She even knows.
Dude, those people are victims. Those people are in so much danger. There's fucking Mormon people brainwashing them, raping them, sexually abusing them. Yeah. No, like... Dude,
let's my mom's podcast.
Send this to Utah. Tell everybody dude, take this video to court and have the court people watch this.
Oh, I'm going to put it out there in a book.
Put that up there for sure.
I'm going to.
It's corrupt. It's government.
The
thing
corrupt.
Is, they think they're doing something right. But the thing is, when you're doing nothing wrong, and you said she kind of feels like the outcast person or whatever, when someone makes you feel a certain way, it's they're fucked up, because you should when you're doing absolutely nothing wrong, you should never feel bad, and that's like a big thing. And you should
never tear a child from their mother for religious ego reasons, your own fear of God. No, that's stupid. You should never do that, because that will affect her whole life. That'll affect the mother's whole life. Like you can't tear a child away from their mother and not expect them to lose everything, like it's the mother wound, that's what I call it, and it's the deepest, most painful, next to your own child dying, like sometimes it probably would have been easier to at least, like, to have been blocked from her is just, while she's alive, is just the hardest thing, and it's the reason why I'm so good at helping people let go of things and not be attached.
Second daughter, how old is she? 5. Okay. And then you had her in California?
Yeah. Yep, and I have 50-50. Sean.
Is he cool?
Him and I are... It's almost like karma, our situation. It's like my good karma. Him and I are extremely close. We co-parent so well together. We went into like a tiny little custody battle, but it was like... We both were like, nope, we don't want to do this. He saw my issues with Annie, and... Sean and Annie are super tight, by the way. He is a beautiful man, and he had a drug problem, but that was my issue, but he's done with that, and he's a great father.
And then how old are you?
34.
Dude, nice.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Just turned 34.
What day or what month?
June 23rd.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
That was like 5 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Dang, good for you. Good for you. Yeah, I gotta pack up and I gotta go just because it's in Morro Bay. Honestly, if I knew you were gonna go this savage, I would have said, dude, I'm gonna try and get here like 10:30.
Totally, you know it's okay. I mean? But we can do it another time. I would love to dive into like how I got better and like into my spiritual path and how I found healing. So that's a whole nother. This is like the weird little crumbly foundation, but how I got into energy work and how I got clean and how I teach other people to do better.
You want to hear the good news?
Yeah.
Dude, the thing is, you're self-made, you're a business owner, you're a mother of 2 children, you have fucking employees. Mm-hmm. Keep doing your shit, keep racking that up. I hope everything works out for you.
Thank you.
For anybody that watching this, one of the biggest things, in my opinion, to take away is like, it sucks not having enough knowledge to realize that you're in a fucked up situation and these people are like abusing you and they're literally psychopaths, they're scumbags, just like, and it's so easy for me to say and be like, oh, just fucking walk away from that, but you're describing this whole story like you have nothing else to go to. You're getting fucked by the system, fucked by the government, fucked by these like grown-ass men. But I mean, it's, I hope this video helps anybody out there that is experiencing anything that you're experiencing. You need to surround yourself with dope people, and you need anybody that's not dope, cut them out of your life. Don't even talk to them, because trust me, there's so many dope people like in this county alone, in this world. You just have to tap into those people right when they start doing weird shit. Cut them out of your life, drop them like you've never even fucking like.
Yes, thank you. That's amazing. You guys heard
it from Stephanie herself. I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, thank you so much.
Do people call you Steph or Stephanie? Steffi.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
Dude, you killed that. You killed that, honestly.
I feel like